Hello and welcome to the Mustache Manatee Kitchen. Today we are going to be making ginger molasses cookies, and the first thing I'm going to do is go over the ingredients we're going to be using. Okay, so we have our 12 ounces of room temperature unsalted butter. We have 1 cup of white granulated sugar, along with 1 cup of packed light brown sugar. We have our baking soda, which is 4 teaspoons. We have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. We have 1 teaspoon of ground cloves, and we have 1 tablespoon of ground ginger. Up here we have a ½ cup of molasses. We have 2 eggs, and we have our 540 grams of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of salt added. That is what we are going to need to make our beautiful cookies. Okay, so for step 1, we're going to combine our dry ingredients. So we're going to take our ginger, our baking soda, our cinnamon, and the cloves. We're going to pour them all in there with the flour. We're going to whisk that up really well, like so. And then we are going to sift it. And this, of course, gets out any little lumps that you might have in your flour or anything else, and it's just going to help it mix better. If you're not sifting your dry ingredients, honestly, I don't know what you're doing with your life. There we go. Like so. Make sure you get it all. And now we sift. Yes. I don't know why, but I always find sifting to be very satisfying. It's very aesthetically pleasing to me to watch it all get shaken down into a much smaller, finer powder. There we go. All sifted. We'll whisk it up a little bit more just for good measure. Alright. Dry ingredients, ready to go. Okay, for our next step, we're going to cream the butter and sugars together. This is another reason why it's important to have your butter at room temperature and split up into smaller pieces like this, as opposed to just, throwing in the whole block of butter. This will help it cream faster, more evenly. We got our sugars. Here. And then we're going to want to go at a nice medium speed. Lift this up. We're going to go at about 4 to start on the KitchenAid mixer or whatever mixer you use. And what we're looking for here is we're looking for a light and fluffy consistency from when the butter and the sugar combine. Okay, so at this point we're getting close to being done with the creaming process. But what I want to do here is stop halfway through to remind you to scrape your bowl. Get in there, scrape all the butter and sugar around. Make sure you're not missing anything. Make sure you really get into the bottom of the bowl. There's that little nub down there. Yeah, get that guy too. Scrape off the paddle. And of course, you can take off all of this stuff too and get really thorough if you'd like to, but just a nice scraping. Here's a little trick I like for not wasting any product. Scrape it on the edge, scoop it off, tap it back in. Up we go. The creaming continues. Okay, once you're done with your creaming, you should have a nice, light in texture, kind of butter-sugar mixture, somewhat like this. Okay, so next step with your mixer on is about a speed 3. We're going to add our eggs, 1 egg at a time. So, first egg, there we go. And we're going to let that go until the mixture and the egg get fully incorporated. Doesn't take very long. Alright, egg number 2. There we go. And then as soon as this gets incorporated, there we are. You know what the next stage is. We're going to take this down and we're going to scrape our bowl again. Really get down there. Make sure you're getting down into that little nub in the middle of the bowl. Get the paddle, all that loose stuff that's hanging out. A little bit right there. There we go. So now on speed, let's say a speed 2, we're going to start to slowly add the molasses. And you're just going to want to stream it in against the side. Don't let the paddle get it too much, because if the paddle gets it too much, it's going to carry it all over the place and make a big mess. So you're just going to stream it down the side. That's most of it. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop, bring it down. Molasses is very sticky and difficult to work with, so we're going to use our handy dandy tool here. And we're going to get as much of the rest of this out of here as we can and into the bowl. There we are. Okay. And you're not going to get all of it, but you get as much as you can. Then I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to get the sides a little bit and scrape those down along with the paddle here. So I'm telling you, no matter what you do, this stuff's going to get stuck to the side. So you get in there, let's really mix it up. This bad boy back on here. There. All right, and this is what we're after now that the eggs and molasses are all combined. We have this beautiful ginger molassesy cookie mixture. I'm telling you guys right now, it smells really good. All right, time to add our dry ingredients next. Okay, now we're ready to add our dry ingredients, which is our flour, our leavening, and our spice mixture. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take, probably about half of what's in here. This little bowl make it easier on myself. You're gonna take about half of this mixture, and you're gonna add it into the bowl. Call that half. And you're going to lift it up. And you're only going to want to go on like a speed 1. Okay? Because what you're going to do is you're going to let the flour combine with the mixture a little bit. If you crank this up, all the flour is going to go, and it's going to be hilarious, but it's going to make a horrible mess. And let's face it, you're going to have to clean that up. So you don't want to do that. Once it starts to combine a little bit, you crank it up to 2, and then for 3, and go just until it's combined. Just until combined, right? So then you're going to take it off. And guess what we're going to do? That's right. We're going to scrape the bowl. First, we're going to get the stuff off the paddle, which, in case you haven't noticed, because I haven't been clear, you should be using a paddle attachment for something like this, not a whisk. Or, heaven forbid, a dough hook. Why you would use a dough hook, I don't know, but, All right, so you're going to scrape down the sides, make sure all the loose flour gets incorporated, so there will be loose flour all around. Just until it's incorporated, so it looks like a slightly drier version of the mixture I showed you before. There we are. Okay. Alright. And then, since we already have the bowl out, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the rest of our dry ingredients on top of there. There we are. Throw this guy back on. Reattach our paddle, bowl up, speed 1 again. Let the rest of the flour and the dry ingredients incorporate into the mixture before cranking the mixer back up, or again, big mess. There we go, looks good. Crank it up to 2. Crank it up to 3. Excellent, that's it. That's as long as it should take. you're gonna take this back down. Seriously, you guys, these cookies, they smell so good. And I know these are traditionally fall flavors, right? Like this is a cookie you would normally see in November, like around Thanksgiving or Christmas time. But you know what? We're grown-ups, and we make the cookies we want to make when we want to make them. Yes, we do. Okay. So we scrape that. Take our tool, scrape the bowl one more time. Just get some of the rest of that loose flour. Make sure you're checking the bottom of the bowl. That's where the loose flour likes to hide. It doesn't want to play nice with the rest of the flour and incorporate. So you just have to force the issue a little bit. Okay. And in just a moment, I'm going to show you guys what this dough is supposed to look like once everything is incorporated. Okay, and here is your finished ginger molasses cookie dough. Yes, quite nice. Now, because of the molasses, this dough can be rather tricky to work with. So it needs to hang out in the fridge for approximately 2 hours before you scoop and bake it off. So you're going to take a bit of cling wrap here, and you're going to put this on your product. And don't just lay it over the top of the bowl so that all that air is between. What I recommend doing is actually putting the plastic up against the cookie dough itself. This will help keep it nice and fresh and also help keep things from getting into it. There we go. Sort of like that. And then we're going to go into the fridge with it for a few hours and take a brief intermission before we bake. So now we are out of the refrigerator with our chilled dough, and we have some white granulated sugar here that we're going to roll our cookies in. So we're going to want to go for about 1.5 ounces on the scale here. It's a little bit too much. Okay, so we get our 1.5 ounces. We're going to roll into a ball, and then we're going to roll in the sugar until it's covered. And it looks something like this, right? We're going to take it, and we're going to put it on our sheet pan. And I'll show you what that finished sheet pan looks like. Okay, so here we have our finished tray. We're going to do 8 cookies per tray, evenly spaced out, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, 2 kind of in the middle here. And they're going to go into the oven at 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. We're going to rotate them at 4 minutes. We're going to check them at 8. They might need to be in for the last 2, depends on what they look like. What we're going to be looking for is a slight cracking on the top of the cookie to indicate that they are done. And of course, I'll show you guys what that looks like. And now we rotate. Halfway there. Okay, these are looking and smelling just about done, so I want to show you what you're looking for here. You can see the tops of the cookies are just starting to crack. It's a good indication that they're done. So we're going to set them over here, and we're going to let them cool on the tray for approximately 5-ish minutes, and then we're going to move them over to a wire cooling rack. And then I'll show you what that finished product looks like after it's had a chance to chill and spread a little bit. Okay, so now we have our finished ginger molasses cookies. Here we are. This is what the finished product looks like. And the thing about these cookies, one of the reasons why we were delicate with them in terms of letting them sit on the tray before we transferred them over to the wire rack, one of the reasons why it's important to chill the dough for as long as we did. I know that part's tempting to skip, right? You want to chill the dough for like 30 minutes and then start scooping. It's really important to chill the dough for a long time because there is a lot of butter and molasses in this recipe. And as a result, your cookies are really going to want to spread like crazy when they're baking. So chilling the dough for as long as I did and making sure that it was chilled all the way through and easy to work with in that way ensures that the cookie keeps its nice uniform size and doesn't turn into a spready, buttery mess. Let's try it.
That'll work. Enjoy the cookies.